Over 150 years ago, deep in the Maine woods, a legend was born. A talented outdoors person, said to be able to outfish, outride, and outshoot anyone, became Maine's first registered guide and one of the state's earliest ambassadors for tourism. Her name was Cornelia Crosby, better known by the nickname Fly Rod.
I would argue at the turn of the century, she was one of the most significant, if not one of the most known people from the state of Maine.
Yet today, many Mainers don't know her name. Roger Lambert is one of several people looking to change that.
My mom was a beautician here in town and told me about Fly Rod, and of course the buzz around was about her, you know, and when I got into the guide community, because she's our gal.
Here at the Phillips Historical Society, in Fly Rod Crosby's hometown, hundreds of photographs, newspaper clippings, and personal objects paint a story of the woman who championed Maine. Crosby grew up just across the street in a little brick house, and her early years were rife with tragedy. Her father died of tuberculosis when she was just 2 years old, and her older brother died when she was 13, leaving just her and her mother. Crosby herself struggled with bouts of illness, so the doctors prescribed fresh air. In an effort to regain her health, she fell in love with the outdoors, especially fly fishing, which she became very good at.
She got it done in the boat. I mean, she outfished them. There's records on how many fish she landed any given day. So when you're playing in the bigs and you're whipping them, it doesn't take long before you're a celebrity, and she was.
She started writing columns about her adventures for local newspapers, the Franklin Journal, the Phillips Phonograph, the Lewiston Journal, and the Portland Press. Over time, her writing was picked up by national publications, such as Shooting and Fishing out of New York.
She scribbled, as she called it, in her writing. She was probably the first syndicated female sports writer in the country. She was published all over the country.
Fly Rod also promoted Maine by traveling to sporting shows throughout New England and setting up elaborate exhibits to entice people to visit the Maine woods. She commanded attention, standing tall for a woman at 6 feet and taking care to dress the part, often wearing a hat adorned with feathers and a dress short enough to be considered scandalous because it exposed her ankles.
She was the first female exhibitor in the first sports show ever in 1895, and she didn't seem to bat an eye, and she put together a whole trapper's cabin, all the taxidermy, tanks of fish that no one ever did, and she just thrived on it. She loved it, and the people loved her, and she promoted Maine.
Maine Central Railroad sponsored her, hiring Crosby to promote Maine and therefore attract more passengers.
That was the time the railroads were really fingering into Maine and getting to the sporting camps. The sporting camps, remote camps, were on the upsurge. Everything came together.
At one such exposition, she befriended the famous sharpshooter Annie Oakley. As female athletes ahead of their time, the two had much in common. In fact, they hit it off so well that Crosby invited Oakley to visit her in Maine.
She called Maine the playground of the nation. She was passionate in her quest to get people to come and enjoy it. I admire her strength and her doggedness.
When you look at how much of our economy relies on recreation, she's everything for us.
Because of her own experiences, Crosby believed in the health benefits of fresh air and being active outdoors. Her passion for activities like hunting, fishing, and canoeing evolved into an interest in protecting Maine's natural resources. She advocated for stricter fish and game laws and the creation of the Maine Registered Guide program.
She realized that it wasn't an infinite resource and that we needed to do something about it. And she worked very hard, lobbying for catch limits, for catch and release, for licensing, for wearing bright colors in the woods. So I think her name and her fingerprints were all over a lot of things.
Her story is really something to be proud of because not only did she promote conservation and access and guiding and Maine heritage, she really is a standalone subject to teach us today that you don't need anyone else. You can take responsibility for our natural resources, our heritage, and work to keep these places open.
Brent West is the executive director of the High Peaks Alliance, an organization that's been working since 2009 to create the Fly Rod Crosby Trail, a path that honors Crosby by visiting places that were once important to her, such as her home in Phillips, the railroad where she boarded so many trains, and the forests where she once wandered.
Not everyone's heard her story, and more we're bringing her story to the forefront.
The community-driven trail is on private land and maintained by volunteers.
We're on what's called the Reed's Loop. It's a 1-mile loop from our Madrid trailhead, and there's a mother and her 3 sons that maintain and sweep the trail, and they come out here 3 times a year and do that. Overall, it's about 25 miles of trails that have been built and are marked. And there's an idea that if you really want the full experience, you should also paddle across Rangeley Lake over to the Sporting Heritage Museum.
At the museum, Crosby is a part of a larger story about the area's cultural history.
She didn't fit in the traditional bounds, which I think Mainers really appreciated. She was out there in her dress, fly fishing, and not listening to what anybody else said. And I feel like that speaks to the character of the people in this area, that we're gonna go and recreate and live our outdoor life.
In 1897, Maine began licensing registered Maine guides. The state issued guide licenses to 1,700 people that first year and honored Crosby by granting her license number 1.
The first registered Maine guide in Maine was a woman. That's pretty amazing. I am the first woman to lead this agency as Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife. One of my goals has been to try and get more women engaged in outdoor activities. I want more people to care about our fish and wildlife resources, and the best way to do that is to get them engaged in those activities.
The guiding community has long been male-dominated. More and more women are becoming licensed, and Maine has a tradition of strong female leaders.
Maine women buy their hunting and fishing licenses at the same rate as men do in the state, which is very unusual. So we're the highest retention rate of women in the country. Maine is fantastic at providing all kinds of opportunities for women to get outside and get engaged.
Another recent effort to revive Fly Rod's story is being made by an organization called Friends of Fly Rod, which is raising funds to commission a bronze statue of her that will be erected in front of the new headquarters for the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
I think her legacy will live on in perpetuity in just her sense of outdoor adventure and pushing the envelope and getting people outside, even pushing outdoor gear for women back then. I think her legacy will last for generations.
We use that for educational tool. Kids that are visiting Augusta can hear her story, and we hope it inspires all of them, but especially women.
In 1946, Cornelia Crosby died at the age of 92. She rests in Strong Village Cemetery with her family. She never married or had children, but in many ways, her legacy lives on through the many people who share her story.
We've got a great thing going here. We'd like to keep this tradition and heritage here, and it's going to take some work. It's all good. We're on a roll. We're going to keep this going, and Fly Rod's going to help us, whether she's here in person or in a bronze statue in Augusta.